everybody, so we are driving the brand new 2025 Volvo EX30 for the first time. It is the smallest crossover that Volvo has ever made, and it's their all-new fully electric version. So one of the things that impressed me the most about the EX30 is that it took everything that we like about bigger Volvos and kind of miniaturized it, but without losing any of the clever touches or any of the luxury we expect from a brand like this. So I really think it's impressive how they downscaled all of their design and all of their luxury into this nice package. So in Canada, we're going to get basically two versions. One of them is a single motor rear wheel drive version that focuses on range. That one has about 442 kilometers, and it is rear wheel drive, but don't worry, you should be completely fine with a good set of winter tires. You know, these people are from Sweden. They know a thing or two about driving in the snow. But if you wanted to, there's also going to be a dual motor all-wheel drive version with about 425 kilometers of range. And I think those range numbers are really impressive. You know, anything over the 400 kilometer mark is really going to help a lot of Canadians feel more confident about making the switch to EV. And Volvo was saying that this EV is not only going to be a lot of people's entry points into electric vehicles in general, but apparently a lot of people's first experience with Volvo. So that's really cool to see as well. Where the single motor version focuses on range, the dual motor all-wheel drive one is actually a performance model, and Volvo says it's the quickest Volvo they've ever made. And when we were doing acceleration tests, it does boogie, but you don't want to drive like that because it's really going to eat up your range rather quickly. But the single motor version moves pretty swiftly too, so I don't think you'll be missing out by getting that one either. Both the dual motor and the single motor versions both run on a 69 kilowatt battery, and they're both capable of charging at speeds of up to 153 kilowatt hours. So that'll get you the magical 10 to 80% in just half an hour if you're lucky enough to find a fast level 3 charger. So we're in Spain, we've been driving the EX30 all day now, and I gotta say I'm pretty impressed. A lot of people ask me, so what do you think the EX30 is gonna drive like? And I typically say something like, they're all kind of the same. So if you're used to Volvo electric vehicles, this will feel very familiar to you. The steering has 3 levels of weightiness. There's light, medium, and heavy. I like to keep it on the heaviest setting. It still feels a little bit numb, but the good thing is that it feels really confident in corners. You know, all the batteries are down below, so it makes the car feel nice and stable and confident throughout corners. Visibility is great. It's got nice big windows, no major blind spots. And in general, I really like how it drives. Also, one pedal driving is available. At highway speeds like we're at now, it doesn't make a huge difference. But the alternative is motion sickness causing abruptness, which no one wants. In the city, it's much stronger. It can bring you to a full stop, which is nice to see as well. One interesting thing to note is that there is no propulsion noise. So a lot of other EVs will pipe in this kind of fake noise when you mash the accelerator just so you can feel like something's happening. This one doesn't do that, which is a little bit annoying because sometimes, especially when the audio is off, you can hear little whirring of motors and it sounds a little bit weird. It's not a deal breaker, but just something to note. So the interior is where you're going to see a lot of departures from what you might be used to in regular Volvo cars. Because it is an EV, they went really heavy on finding new types of sustainable materials to use in here. And so this speckled finish here, this is made out of recycled window blinds. There are other models that also use stuff like recycled denim, flax, there's wool. There's a lot of interesting and very cool materials used, which I love to see because a lot of other automakers talk about sustainability and don't take it that extra step. So it's really nice to see that Volvo went there. The other really big change you'll notice is that now everything is centralized into this tablet style touchscreen. There's no individual gauge cluster. All your information is housed here and all of your controls too. There are actually no hard buttons to be found. Everything from your mirror controls to your HVAC and even your glove compartment opening are all controlled through the touchscreen. At first, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it becomes more familiar the more you use it. And now they're actually using a built-in Google software. So there's actually no Android Auto, but it does have wireless Apple CarPlay if you prefer that. Something that makes the infotainment system easier to get used to is that it has permanent spaces where there's certain shortcuts and information that are always going to be available, no matter what screen you're in. And it doesn't even bother me that there's no dedicated information cluster. Everything you need is just a short glance away and right in your field of vision, which is perfect because when it comes to these systems, sometimes they're too distracting to use. This one I find is pretty good, although I do really miss having physical buttons for certain things like climate control, but I think this is something we're all gonna have to get used to. I'm really impressed with all the practical features that Volvo has baked into this tiny car. From the outside, it looks really small, but from the inside, it's actually quite big. Me and my co-driver have tons of room. He's about 6'1", and there's tons of space for someone to sit behind him as well, so I'm really impressed by that. The other thing is that it has huge door pockets to hold all your stuff. There's a huge tray under the center console where you can store stuff. There's a cup holder that slides in and out when you don't need it. Although I don't see any cup holders in the back, which is kind of a weird thing, just something to keep in mind. And there's a lot of little clever details in here, which I find are very delightful. They have a lot of little Easter eggs that are really fun, and it just shows you that those little details are important to Volvo. And I love that Volvo really thought through all of those details because luxury cars live and die by the details. So it's really nice to see that Volvo has considered all of that, which helps elevate the EX30 to feel a lot more luxurious than its price might suggest. Of course, Volvo being Volvo has packed the EX30 full of all the safety features that we expect. So stuff like lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, and blind spot monitoring are all included as standard. But honestly, this car is so easy to maneuver around. I don't really think you're going to be relying on those too much, but they're always nice to have. In terms of pricing, Volvo did a great job keeping it competitive. For the single motor version, it starts at around $53,700, which means it is eligible for provincial and federal incentives, which is great to see. The dual motor version tops out at around $62,100, and that's pretty competitive pricing. Volvo claims that it doesn't have any natural competitors in this segment. I think in the luxury space that might be true right now, but I don't think it's going to last very long. Volvo said it has priced the EX30 in a way that made it competitive with its gas-powered counterparts, and that was a major sticking point for a lot of people because why buy an EV when it costs a lot more than something you can get elsewhere? And so I think that strategy is really going to work for them. Canadians can place an order for an EX30 now, but they're not expected to arrive until the summer of 2024. And then shortly after that, we're also going to be getting a cross-country version with more body cladding and some extra ground clearance. But for now, the EX30 that we have here, it's really good, and I think it's going to check a lot of boxes for Canadian drivers.